You ever notice how silence does the most damage? Not screaming, not cursing, not fists flying, just silence. That absence, that void, that moment where you expect a word, a look, anything, and you get nothing. That's what breaks people. That's what makes them crawl inside their own minds and never come back the same. See, people think words are the most dangerous weapon. They think if someone calls you weak, you'll believe it. If someone shames you, it'll crush you. But no, no, no. What really messes with your head is when they say nothing at all. When they leave you in the dark. When they act like you never even existed. When the people you trusted, the people you swore had your back, just vanish. Not a goodbye, not a warning, just an empty space where they used to be. That's when the real damage begins. Because silence, it's a void. A deep, endless pit. And when people throw you in there, they don't have to push you. No, they just let you fall. They let you tear yourself apart, piece by piece, until you don't even recognize who's looking back at you in the mirror. And that's where you are, aren't you? Sitting in the rubble of everything you thought was real. Everything you thought was unbreakable. You're asking yourself the same question over and over. Why? Why did they leave? Why did they change? Why did they treat you like you were nothing when you gave them everything? You don't want the answer. Not really. Because the answer is ugly. It's brutal. It's the kind of truth that rips people apart from the inside out. See, the world isn't built for the weak. It chews them up, spits them out, and forgets they ever existed. The people you called yours, they saw something in you, something they didn't want to deal with. Maybe it was strength, real strength. The kind they never had. Maybe it was that you wouldn't break, that no matter how much they tried to destroy you, you kept getting back up. Or maybe you were too good to them. Yeah, that's right. Maybe your biggest crime was giving them too much, trusting them too much, thinking they'd do the same for you. But people don't work that way. No, no, no. People are selfish little creatures, always looking for the easiest way out. And when someone like you stands in front of them, someone who actually feels, someone who cares, that scares them. Because now they have to face themselves. Now they have to see the truth. That they are weak, that they are cowards, that they will never be what they pretend to be. So what do? They run. They leave you in silence. Because if they say something, if they admit what they did, then they have to face it. And people would rather live in their little illusions than confront reality. And you sat there, waiting, hoping, thinking maybe they'd realize what they did, thinking maybe they'd come back. Pathetic. You wasted time, the most valuable thing you have, and you spent it waiting on ghosts, waiting for an explanation, waiting for closure. waiting for someone to fix the wound they left. And let me tell you something. They won't. They never will. Because people like that, they move on like nothing ever happened. They erase you from their lives like you were just a chapter in a book they got bored of reading. But you're still stuck on the same page, bleeding between the lines, and that's your mistake. See, you don't heal by waiting. You don't get better by hoping. You get better by burning the whole damn book and writing a new one. You want revenge? Ha! Forget revenge. Nothing hurts people more than realizing they had something great and threw it away. You think they'll forget you? No. No, no. People always remember the ones who didn't break. The ones who disappeared and came back stronger, colder, untouchable. So let them have their silence. But you turn that silence into fuel, into rage, into something they can't ignore. You don't beg, you don't chase, you don't look back. You move forward so fast, they can't even keep up with your shadow. You become the kind of person they regret losing. And when they come back, and they will come back, you don't even have to say a word. Just look at them. Let them see what they created. Let them drown in the silence they built. Because silence is a weapon. And now, it's yours. You feel that weight in your chest, don't you? That suffocating pressure, like something's been ripped out of you. And now there's just emptiness, a void where something used to be. And no matter how deep you reach, no matter how hard you try to fill it, nothing fits, nothing numbs it, nothing makes it go away. That's the thing about loss. It isn't loud, it isn't dramatic, it doesn't come crashing through the door, screaming in your face. No, no, no. It's quiet, subtle, a slow, creeping poison that seeps into your bones, into your thoughts, into every damn thing you do. You wake up, and for a second, just a second, you forget. You think everything's normal. Then reality punches you in the face. Then you remember, and suddenly the whole world feels wrong. That's the real punishment. Not the leaving, not the betrayal, but the aftershock. The way their absence rewires you. The way every little thing reminds you of them, like a knife twisting in an open wound. The silence isn't just around you, it's inside you. And you know what the worst part is? They don't feel it. Oh, you think they do. You hope they do. You tell yourself they must be suffering. They must be regretting. They must be going through hell. But deep down, you know the truth. You know they've moved on. You know they're out there, laughing, living, breathing, like you never even existed. And that breaks you more than anything, because it makes you question everything. Were they ever real? Was any of it real? Was it all just in your head? Were you just a placeholder, a temporary fix? Something they used to pass the time before they found something better. And that thought is what eats you alive. But let me tell you something, and listen real close, because this is where you either rise or you fall. You are not their mistake. They are yours. They were the ones who didn't see it. They were the ones who walked away from something real. They were the ones who chose comfort, ease, the easy way out. Because that's what most people do. They take the shortcut. They pick what's convenient. And when something requires effort, when something challenges them, they run. See, the world is full of people who want things handed to them. Love, loyalty, success, happiness. They want it all, but they don't want to earn it. They don't want to fight for it. They don't want to bleed for it. They just want it to be easy. But you're not easy. You're not simple. You're not something they can pick up and put down whenever they feel like it. And that scared them. So they left. Not because you weren't enough, but because you were too much. And now you're sitting here, drowning in silence, letting their absence tear you apart. Pathetic. They don't deserve that power over you. They don't deserve to be the reason you can't sleep at night, the reason you question your worth, the reason you feel like you're suffocating inside your own damn skin. You know what you do? You make them irrelevant. You erase them, not out of spite, not out of hatred, but because that's the only way you win. Because the real victory, the real revenge, it isn't proving them wrong. It isn't showing them you're better off without them. It isn't making them regret leaving. It's making it so they don't matter. So they don't exist in your world. So their name, their face, their memory, it holds nothing over you. Because that is the one thing they can't handle. They expect you to be broken. They expect you to suffer. They expect you to stay stuck, waiting, hoping, aching for them to come back. Because that means they mattered. That means they won. But the moment you stop caring, the moment you stop feeling anything when you hear their name, that's the moment they lose. And they will. Oh, they will. Because here's the thing about silence. It's a void. And nature hates a void. Something will fill it. And what you choose to fill it with, that's up to you. You can fill it with anger, with self-pity, with bitterness. You can let it consume you. Let it turn you into something small, something weak, something hateful. Or you can fill it with power. You can take every ounce of pain, every sleepless night, every moment of agony, and you can turn it into something unstoppable. Because pain, it's just fuel. And if you use it right, it will burn so hot, so bright, that the whole damn world will have no choice but to see you. And them, they'll be watching. They'll see what they lost. They'll see what they walked away from. They'll see what they could have had, and they will never, never find it again. And you won't even notice, because by then, you'll be too far ahead, too strong, too untouchable, and the silence they left you with, it will be their destruction. And that's where it all changes, right? That's where the story takes a turn, because up until now, you've been playing by their rules. You've been sitting in the ruins, running through the past like it's some kind of puzzle you can solve, trying to figure out where it went wrong, what you could have done differently, what you missed. Ha! Foolish. That's the game they want you to play. That's the loop they want you stuck in. Because as long as you're trapped in that cycle, as long as you're looking backward, you're not moving forward. You're not becoming something greater. You're not becoming dangerous. And oh, they don't want that. No, no, no. They don't want you to realize that their silence wasn't punishment. It was freedom. Because what did they really give you? Think about it. Strip away the nostalgia, the sentimental nonsense, the pretty little lies you tell yourself to make it all seem worth it. What did they really bring to your life? Was it peace? Was it strength? Did they lift you up? Make you better? Push you to be more? Or did they just take? Did they drain you? Did they make you feel like you were always one step away from losing them? Did they feed you crumbs and call it a feast? Did they dangle their presence like a prize? Something you had to earn, something you had to beg for. That's the truth they don't want you to see. That's the illusion they built, the one that kept you chained. And silence? It shattered that illusion. It forced you to see the reality for what it was. No sugarcoating, no excuses, just the raw, brutal truth. And yeah, that hurts. That rips you apart. Because now you're looking at the wreckage and you're realizing it wasn't real. It was never as strong as you thought. It was never as solid as you believed. It was fragile, temporary, conditional, and that realization, that's what cuts the deepest. But here's the thing about pain. It's a doorway, a passage, a test. It separates those who break from those who rise. And you get to decide which one you are. You get to decide if you're going to be another sob story, another cautionary tale, another name on the long list of people who never recovered, or if you're going to be something else. Because silence didn't kill you. It changed you. It forced you to strip away the illusions, to confront the real you, the you that isn't shaped by their opinions, their validation, their approval. And that is where your power begins. Because most people, they never reach this point. They never sit in the silence long enough to understand it. They drown it out. They distract themselves. They run, but not you. No, no, no. You sat in the fire, You let it consume you. You let it turn you into something new. And now? Now you are no longer the person they left behind. And that is terrifying. Not to you. No. You're finally seeing it. You're finally waking up. But to them, to the ones who thought they could break you, to the ones who thought they could walk away, and you'd always be there, waiting, hoping, aching for their return. Oh, they are in for a rude awakening, because you are no longer waiting. You are no longer hoping. You are no longer standing in place, looking over your shoulder, wondering if they'll ever come back. You are moving. You are rising. You are becoming. And here's the best part. The part that will haunt them. The part they will never escape. You don't even hate them. Oh, they'd prefer that. They'd love that. Hatred means they still have power. Hatred means you still care. Hatred means they matter, but they don't. They are ghosts, shadows, faded memories in a life that is no longer theirs to be part of. And that silence, that emptiness they left, it is now their own. Because one day when the distractions fade, when the noise dies down, when the people they chose instead of you prove to be exactly what they are, temporary, they will look back, they will remember, and they will realize they lost something they will never find again. But you, by then, you'll be so far ahead, so untouchable, so great, that their regret will never reach you. And that is how you win. Not with revenge, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with silence. Because silence shatters more than words ever could. And now, here you are, at the edge of something unfamiliar, something raw. You've been walking through the fire, through the ruins of everything you thought was real. And now you stand at the threshold of what comes next. And let me tell you, this is the part where most people turn back. Oh, they say they want to change. They say they want to rise. They say they want to become something more. But when they get here, when they reach this moment, this choice, they freeze. They hesitate. Because stepping forward, that means leaving everything behind. The memories, the longing, the illusion that one day, maybe, things will go back to the way they were. But there is no going back. That place, that version of you, gone, dead, burned to ash. And you have to decide, do you mourn it? Or do you build something greater from its remains? See, that's what people don't understand about pain. They think it's just something to survive, something to endure, something to get through. No, no, no. Pain is a tool. Pain is a weapon. Pain is the sharpest scalpel in existence, cutting away the weak parts of you, the illusions, the lies, the dependencies, until only the truth remains. And the truth, it isn't soft. It isn't kind. It doesn't pat you on the back and tell you everything will be okay. The truth tells you that no one is coming to save you, that the world does not owe you kindness, that the people you gave your heart to will not always protect it, that the only person who can decide what happens next is you. So what's it gonna be? Because let me tell you something. This moment, this silence that you're drowning in, it's the greatest gift you've ever been given. Oh, I know it doesn't feel like that. I know it feels like a curse, like a slow death, like a weight pressing down on your chest that you can't escape. But that's only because you haven't used it yet. You haven't turned it into something else. And you can. Oh, you can. Because the people who left, the ones who went silent, who acted like you never existed, who made you feel invisible, they gave you freedom. Freedom from their judgment. Freedom from their expectations. Freedom from the need to prove anything to them. They cut the chains for you, even if they didn't realize it. And now you are limitless. Now you do not have to move carefully, quietly, trying not to upset the balance. Now you do not have to hold yourself back, shrink yourself down, make yourself less, just to keep them comfortable. Now you can become everything they never saw in you, everything they underestimated, everything they were too blind, too weak, too afraid to recognize. And the best part, the part that will haunt them, you will do it without them. You will do it without looking back. You will do it without needing them to see it, because that's the difference between you and them. They need an audience. They need validation. They need someone to tell them they matter. But you don't. Because you are not moving forward to prove something to them. You are moving forward because you deserve it. Because you refuse to let their absence define your existence. Because you will not be another forgotten name, another discarded story, another person who never reached their potential because they were too busy mourning people who never deserved them. No, you will be something else, something greater, something undeniable. And one day, maybe, they will look back and realize what they lost. Maybe they will see you from a distance, see what you've built, see the strength you carry, and they will feel that silence for the first time. Because now it will be their silence, their regret, their burden. And you will not even hear it. Because by then, you will be too far ahead, too strong, too untouchable. And the silence they left you with, it will be nothing more than the sound of your own victory. And now, here's the part they never tell you. The part no one warns you about. When you start to rise, when you start to become something more than they ever imagined, when you finally stop waiting, they will feel it. Oh, they might not say anything. They might not reach out, might not whisper your name in the quiet corners of the night. where regret likes to hide. But trust me, they will feel it. Because something happens when you detach from people who underestimated you. Something shifts. The balance changes. The weight they thought they placed on your shoulders, gone. The grip they thought they had on your mind, broken. And suddenly, they don't feel as certain anymore. Suddenly, the silence they left you with doesn't feel like their victory. It feels like their loss. Because see, people think silence is power when they are the ones controlling it. When they are the ones walking away, shutting the door, turning their backs like you were just another mistake they could forget. But silence is a double-edged sword. And the moment you stop feeling it, the moment you stop hurting from it, it turns back on them. And that's when they start to wonder, where did you go? Why aren't you still reaching for them? Why aren't you still bleeding for them? Why aren't you breaking the way they expected you to? Oh, it eats at them, because they counted on your suffering. They thought it would last. They thought it would keep you small. But what they don't realize, what they never realize, is that suffering is not a cage. It is a forge. And you did not break. You transformed. You let the fire burn through every illusion, every weakness, every lie they told you about yourself. And now, standing in the ashes of what they thought you were, you have become something else. And that is what they fear the most. Because they left thinking they would forget you. They left thinking you would be a ghost, a distant memory, something they once knew but never needed to remember. But instead, you became something they cannot ignore. Not because you are chasing them, not because you are screaming for their attention, begging for their return, trying to make them see what they lost. No, you became something undeniable simply by existing in your full strength, by moving forward, by winning without them. And let me tell you something, there is no greater punishment than that. Because people can live with hurting you. They can live with the idea that they walked away and it wrecked you. That makes them feel powerful. That makes them feel like they had an impact. But when they realize that leaving you was the best thing that ever happened to you, that it did not destroy you, it built you, that's when they suffer. That's when they start to feel the silence in a way they never expected. Because now it's not you who's left with the questions. Now it's them. And trust me, regret is the heaviest silence of all. But you won't even notice, because by then you will be too far ahead, too untouchable, too busy living. And the best part, the part that seals their fate, you won't care anymore. Oh, they'll want you to. They'll hope you do, because that would mean they still mattered. But they don't. They never did. And now, the silence they left, it belongs to them. And it will haunt them more than any words ever could. And that's the thing about silence. It doesn't just stay in one place. It moves. It grows. It spreads like an infection, like a creeping shadow that follows them everywhere. At first, they won't notice it. At first, they'll be too distracted, too entertained by whatever new thing has caught their attention, whatever fleeting moment they've chosen over you. But silence isn't loud. It isn't obvious. It doesn't announce itself with flashing lights and screaming voices. No, no, no. Silence is patient. And one day, when the noise fades, when the distractions run dry, when the people they replaced you with prove to be as temporary as they always were, that silence will creep in. It will settle into the spaces where your presence used to be. It will whisper in their ears when they least expect it, in the dead of night, in the quiet moments between laughter, in the spaces between conversations where something, someone is missing. And they will start to feel it. The absence, the void, the weight of what they left behind. And that's when it hits them. That's when the realization claws its way into their mind. Because they thought they could erase you. They thought they could move on, forget, pretend you never mattered. But the mind doesn't work that way. Oh no. The mind remembers. The mind holds on to things, even when we try to throw them away. And the more they try to push it down, the harder it will fight to surface. Because people don't regret right away. People don't wake up the next morning and say, I made a mistake. It takes time. It takes losing everything else. It takes realizing that what they had, what they threw away, was one of a kind. And when that realization comes, it is too late. Because by then, you will be untouchable. By then, you will have risen so far, changed so much, become something so beyond them, that even if they wanted to reach you, they couldn't. And that is the punishment they never saw coming. Because they thought leaving you was a choice they made. They thought they had the power, the control. They thought they would decide when, if they ever came back. But what they never expected was that you would be the one to close the door, that you would be the one who moved on, that you would be the one who outgrew them, that you would be the one who no longer cared. And that is something they will never recover from. Because here's the thing. Losing someone doesn't hurt right away. No, it's not the moment they walk away that breaks them. It's the moment they look back and realize that you never once looked for them, that you never once tried to bring them back, that you never once let their absence slow you down, that you did not wait, that you did not need them. That silence, it is now their own. It will echo in their mind for years. It will follow them through every failed connection, every empty conversation, every meaningless moment that does nothing to fill the space where you once stood. They will try to replace you, try to find you in other people, in other places, in other lives. But they will fail, because there will never be another you. And when they realize that, when they finally understand what they lost, oh, that is the moment their silence will become unbearable. Because silence isn't just the absence of sound. It isn't just the lack of words. It is weight. It is consequence. It is the loudest thing in the world. And now it belongs to them.